Making healthy food choices are a daily challenge for most people. You see, the food you eat can either be the safest and most powerful form of medicine or the slowest form of poison. Introducing the Green Health Pharmacy and Functional Medicine Clinic that gets to the root cause of your disease. We present to you the True Green Foods brand that allows you to enjoy healthy food options without sacrificing the foods you love. True Green Foods have low-carb swallow options for fufu, banku, tuozafi, eba, kenke, amala, and semovita. Good tasting and supremely delicious without compromising blood sugar, blood pressure, cholesterol, weight management goals, and all diseases that one may be battling with. They also have a low-carb replacement for oatmeal, grits, and cream of wheat, which are highly dense in carbohydrates. Check out Alta Oats, Beta Oats, Clean Oats, as well as Kajma porridge and cream of laka when you visit our shop. The breakfast options are not just delicious, but meet the standards of an anti-inflammatory diet. All True Green Foods are all diabetic friendly. Find Green Health Pharmacy in Woodbridge, Virginia, or call us on 703-670-3640. WhatsApp 571-300-5039. Find us on IG at Green Health Farm. There's no better way for a healthy lifestyle. Remember, your health is your wealth. Making healthy food choices are a daily challenge for
1212 Radio Culture. Yes, indeed. It's that time. Thank you very much for tuning in right now. We are airborne right now on our homepage, www.ghnewsnow.com. We are also airborne on modernghana.com, as well as 10 or so different other platforms, including MyTuner Radio. If you're on social media, I believe you can also catch us live on YouTube, possibly even Facebook. I'm not too sure. I'll confirm that for you in a second. But I can definitely confirm that I have my guests ready, and they are more than able and willing to do justice to the subject. You know how it goes on this show, right?
On each other, you know some wrong.
The Fireside Reasoning Sessions. Myself, Kwesi Eswanbaku, together with my co-hosts, Dr. Kojo Oponwadie and Seven Fireside, will be hosting today two very special guests. Please help me welcome my guest right away. But before that, let me add my co-host to the show right now. Seven Fireside. Greetings, yes. Seven.
Greetings, dear beloved. Give thanks.
Yes,
appreciate
yes,
it.
yes.
Yes.
All right. So we're ready to go, don't it?
Yes.
All right. Let me also invite Okyeame Kwame to the discussion. Okyeame, is your camera active? Okay, we'll be bringing
Hello.
Okyeame. Yes, Kwame, I can hear you, but
can you hear me?
I can hear you clearly.
You can't see me.
Yes. So while you fix that, let me bring in. Yes, there you are. There you are.
Yeah.
All right. And let me also bring in my other guest, Dr. Kwame Ennin. Doctor, Akaba.
Yeah.
Doc, so to kakra.
It's a trip.
Nice one. Because how they the frafra,
no problem.
Your TV kama. All right. We're still waiting for Dr. Kojo Oponwadie, who should be joining us anytime soon. But let me say, first of all, welcome to my co-host, Seven Fireside, and my guest, Okyeame Kwame and Dr. Kwame Ennin. Dr. Kwame Ennin is a functional medical practitioner. He is also affiliated. I actually let him do the introduction himself, but I know he has a lot to do with True Green Food, whose commercial we just played for you. And we will take time to talk about that as part of the discussion that we're having here today. We also have Ghana's most famous vegan. I caught that face somewhere. Ghana's most famous vegan, Okyeame Kwame, on the line right now. As I said, we're still waiting for Dr. Kojo Oponwadie. Now, the format of this show, the normal in case started, the way we do it is that everybody brings a topic, we all throw it in, and then we chime in on what each person has on their mind. But for today, we are going to try to zero in on a particular subject, which is why we have invited Fire.
Yes, it'd be like Professor Ouir available.
Oh, Prof is available. Let me add Prof straight away. Is he? I don't see him in the green room though. Prof, you're in the green room.
The mess.
Okay. As soon as I see Prof, I'll add him. But
Cool.
I don't see him in the green room right now. As soon as I see him in the green room, I'll add him. But yes. So today we're going to be zeroing in on this particular subject, and this is why we have invited Dr. Ennin. Vegans, right? Veganism. Okyeame, Kwame, you're a vegan. But it so happens that all three of us, also the hosts, are also what you could also call vegan, right? We prefer the term Ital, but Ital definitely will embody vegan. So we're trying to have a no holds barred discussion about this, because let me set something for all of us to chew on whilst we set the ball rolling on this one. There is a certain study out there that if you're vegan for a very long time, there's some sort of nutritional components that you may be lacking in the long term. We will be discussing that, and this is why I said that I brought Dr. on. Kwame is also here to Kwame, you see, fortunately or unfortunately, no, you don't have too much argument to make, because everybody on this platform, I believe, can make the case for the vegan, food choice. Except that I think Doctor is going to take us a little bit deeper into it, right? So we can examine the good, the bad, and the ugly, if any, at all. Once again, welcome very much. My name is Kwesi Eson Bako, and we are airborne on Radio Culture. Doc, Prof, I still don't see Prof in the green room. I'll try and contact him another way and see how we can resolve that. But all right, let's start this. Let's get it going straight away. Doc, first of all, let me ask you, and all of us, please chime in if you feel like chiming in. If you feel like, let's make this a conversation. This is not an interview. This is more or less a discussion, right? And to Doc, if you feel like chipping in at any point, please feel free to do that. Same for you, Kwame.
Absolutely.
As for you, Fire, you know how it goes already. So Doc, before we start, something caught my attention when I saw your title for the first time. You're a functional medical practitioner. What does that mean?
Okay, thank you, and thanks for having me. Really, I'm a doctor of pharmacy by training. So I've been a pharmacist for the last 20 years. And in the course of my practice, maybe 4 or 5 years into it, I realized that I couldn't help a lot of people. So I sought training in functional medicine. So functional medicine really means that you will get it to the root of it. For example, you have people coming in once a month, twice a month for a headache. And I say, BB, then you are giving them Tylenol. Now, with functional medicine, we don't do that. What we do is we try to ascertain what is driving your issue. So it's a combination of conventional medicine and alternative medicine, because we actually do labs. Labs, the labs that your traditional or your conventional doctor would do. We do that. And we go beyond that, because if we be functional testing, which is normally not done in a conventional setting. Into most of the time, Yarebi Oha, work or doctor or primary care doctor or show Bibia or yet you are feeling the symptoms of something. And that's a hunto. So what we do is we have a diverse ways of going through it and finding out what is really driving the issue. And because of that, it can be very, very expensive. For example, functional testing, with what we do in our office here. So for example, diabetes. When you go to your doctor for diabetes, they're going to look at a basic panel, which is A1C, your lipid panel, and CBC, and all those stuff. So with functional medicine, we go beyond that. We have diabetes, I remember seeing a gentleman years ago. We have done everything. He has a primary care doctor, by the way. But in the testing, we ascertained that there was some chemical called MTBE that he had in his system. And at that time, I didn't even know what it was. So it turns out that it is a petrochemical. And this guy has been an engineer back in Ghana for years. Now he's in the United States and he's a nurse. So by us detoxifying that, we were able to put his diabetes in remission. So that's what functional medicine is. So in our practice, it is as a full-blown pharmacy and the functional medicine clinic or practice, as you will call it.
I see. So again, I know you've explained functional medicine, but is it like a branch of pharmacy? Is it a branch of medicine?
No, it's not a branch of pharmacy. It's actually a branch of medicine.
Okay.
And if you in the United States, you see a lot of practitioners, meaning physicians, doing a lot of that. I happen to be one of the few pharmacists who are into this because of what I have seen. Because years ago, I lost my uncle who had visited me from Ghana. At the time, he was the finance manager for Goyle. He came to visit, and he was diabetic and he was hypertensive. Me not knowing better, I was doing the simple things, giving him the gari, giving him the banku, all those things. And he left me after a month, only to die within 6 days of him arriving in Ghana. Into Honam, who said, when it comes to diabetes, there's a way to go around it. And in the course of my practice, me who will be no about so medro in fabium, I don't take it. And I was like, why? You're supposed to be taking it because in conventional medicine, you're training yourself, you're chronic. And for that reason, I saw Numedrona for the rest of my life. So with that, I was able to navigate and find out there are other paths where you can actually reverse and put, your diabetes and other metabolic diseases for that matter into remission.
Okay. Nice one. Answer na yebeko any further, no? Of course, like I said, this is not an interview, this is a discussion. And to remember Kwame, I chime in, you're ready, but back to the main topic in tell you what I said. Kwame, any opening comments, Diana? Okyeame, Kwame.
Oh, I think that's amazing. In fact, Doc, good evening. Any empenyufua, I am here to make some contributions and also to learn a great deal from you guys. So thank you very much for accepting me. And in connection with the functional medicine and diabetes, I have some family members that I think you can help because what do I call hospital? The only thing I can say is for the rest of your life. I am very happy that Obon come out in this direction. And also, or restaurant, Patricia restaurant in Odia.
Actually, a new restaurant is a
restaurant there.
Food.
Yes.
You can't say food.
Products, yes.
Yeah.
True green foods.
True green foods.
Okay.
Oh,
exactly. True green foods. And then so Pacho, we are na a wama a major number near Shekwan so bit me afa day. Your platforms no so are promote to kakra because health is wealth.
And plus, Kwame made in Ghana ambassador, right? And made in Ghana, no, of course, made in Ghana and the diaspora is part of made in Ghana.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
Again, we're all in the right place, ain't we? All right. Answer na 7 baby mono. Doc, mami bisa a quick question. What can be say medications when they put you on them, you have to be on them for the rest of your life. Now, with functional medicine, if you are able to reverse some of the lifestyle choices and stuff like that, like the Gary and all of that now, do you still have to be on medication for the rest of your life? Quickly,
absolutely not. And again, I'll come to the point of diabetes. So I wouldn't be a diabetic, and of course, for years, what you see is they are on their medications, but omoni say by way of BBFN retinopathy and as a cataract, it be glaucoma. Will be a member, then you lose your sexual function. Now, be a bonus and a nice statistician. I have a gentleman I'm working with in the neighbor corner. So you shower man in so or to a left side or to a right because nerves in the circulation is impaired. And most people, most diabetics for that matter, say when they are experiencing this, they think is by virtue of their diagnosis, which is not true. The trick in it says so call a primary care doctor. Obakacho said Okyeame kind or say yes, na no. Yes, because there's a magic number or be a diabetic piano. And it's a work CD after say we did and of course will be cry when you're diabetic. You know how see the DVR and it's a sugar no a go more than 140 milligram per deciliter in terms of all the other convention about 7.8 millimoles. Okay, into what did you 1 hour later, and that's where the sugar should be or less. Anything beyond that now would damage in your nipa. Okay, into most diabetics, so when you're being diabetes, now what happens, and they say, of course, on a panel we didn't watch it, na sugar should to go 200. Okay, and
even with the beans in there, no.
Yes, no with the beans, and we talk about that too. Now sugar no cholesterol, then no one no metformin now, but from keep in mind the threshold is 140 and now 7.8. Into anything beyond that, now would damage in the into it affects the eye, it affects the nerves, it affects your circulation, and it's into with time and over once or doctor and say, oh. I'm saying when there's an issue, go and see a specialist for the eye. Over say cataract, surgery. I feel the ones on us and she shown to me that was okay. Then it's a neuropathy near mount. My friend is saying you drew for that. Then erection near mount Viagra. What the doctor is not telling you is that when you were not
all of that is connected.
Yes, because if you're not would say when you're diabetes, and keep in mind this is the rule. So when you're diabetic, your relationship with carbohydrate has changed and changed probably for the rest of your life. Into your baby, your bonus say, "Idea you'll be feeling, you'll be feeling." This is where it comes into play. A 10-year-old and a 15-year-old, obedi watching, over checking the sugar 1 hour later, and now sugar the phone book or 400. It means to say the rules of the game have changed for you, and for that matter, you have to change as such.
I see. Okay, and therefore lifestyle choices become a must. Answer na yebeba in. Mamima 7 emblem with initial comments. Nafi, you're moving along. 7.
Hey, thank you so much. Me too. Me share things. There's many anything to me here, yeah, cause appreciate it, Doc.
Thank
you. Thanks
All
for
right.
your yes. Give
All
thanks.
Yes. Okay. And so let's bring the discussion home, Doc. The main reason why your friend was saying, you per se you a very informed idea of what the health implications are for the lifestyle that we have chosen. We can lifestyle and we can our food choice, right? Like I said, myself, 7, Doc Oponwadie, who I believe is still trying to join us. And of course, Okyeame Kwame, you decided say, it should exclude meat, right? Now, if you ask us, I can only speak for myself at this point, but I really believe, say, most of us, if not all of us, the choice was not made primarily from a health point of view, right? Primarily, it had something to do with whatever else. After, as life goes on, we realize that, okay, there are other considerations that have to be made, including the health implications of that lifestyle that we have chosen. And again, I'm saying lifestyle to refer to the animal-free food choice, i.e. choosing. Doc, obi a vegan, and as obi decided to live off animal protein for their entire life. Is it good or bad? Set the ball rolling for us.
Yo, me that's it for Sakunya. I'm say, based on what I do and what I have seen, I believe in say there's a specific diet for somebody. Obia status, metabolic status for that matter, and they determine what route we do. For example, so prostate cancer, I'll let you do something we call the pescatarian diet. Any other cancer is strictly keto or very low carbohydrate diet. And now for good friends of mine who do what I do, but outside the US, some of them in the US who are vegans. And we always have different opinions. But I did and I'm not here to prescribe say when and I say when, but this is what I've seen in clinical practice. Long term, certain things usually when people are on the vegan diet, for a very long time, they tend to be nutrient deficient in a lot of areas. I know you have things to back it. So maybe you can get it from this source. You can get this from this source. But really, if you go into the labs and the clinics of it, it's not that so. For example, we see a lot of deficiency in B12. we see a lot of deficiency in fatty acid. The vegans will say, oh, linoleic acid, alpha linoleic, great. But what about the DPHA? What about the DHA? But there's also the argument that oh yeah, you to be converted, but it's not done very well. In a conventional medicine, you will test me, which is not done in a conventional setting. You're about micronutrient testing, and about you neutral. Anytime you have people, or for that matter, vegans, tested, you will see that they are very, very low in those things. Vitamin D, vitamin A, all the amino acids you could think of, taurine, choline, and that's what I have seen. But I have good friends who swear by it and have done fantastic on it. But in my practice, I tend to use the vegan diet or the vegetarian diet for short-term purposes only, because I see it as a more cleansing diet. A cleaning nipaduan, a detoxifying nipaduan. For long term, it can be a problem because
Doc upon what Doc, sorry, wait there. I'm very sorry to interrupt. Doc upon what there.
Yes, I.
You're live with us. I think says to see.
Okay, I don't know. I may have to leave one. I'm not sure which one I'm showing.
Yeah, you have like 3 different cameras active.
Yeah. Okay, let me see if I can leave this one.
Yes. All right. Yes. So now you're on the one. You're on just one now.
Okay, cool.
Fantastic. Okay, yo. Doc, upon what me pacha kwaba nana.
But that's nana.
Yo.
That's very.
Yo, and the way they're not Doc and go some so canty. Me pacha
right. Absolutely.
Yes, I. Doc, to us me Doc any.
Yes, and with respect to say yeah, and I say I don't want to be the one to say that. Health will determine if it is good for you long term. But what I have seen a lot of deficiencies that can come into play, and sometimes it can lead to other issues, or metabolic issues, and for that matter, other chronic conditions. And for me in particular, I usually push for that as a cleansing diet. Obu ha bit my amanaya 1 month, obu ha 2 months. But going beyond a year, 2 years, especially you will see this body nankasane very, very tightly regulated. In the deficiency you will see it maybe after 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. Then that's where you see that you are very deficient in certain things. And of course, if you are deficient in those things, one thing about conventional medicine is that the test sometimes is even very deceptive, and that's how way the amount. For example, say you are getting potassium, right? Uko doctor or check your potassium. Now potassium you're normal in your blood levels. It doesn't really mean say you're normal. The reason being potassium, 90% of it, 98% for that matter, is in your cells and not in your blood. Of course, your blood, this 2% is tightly regulated, and it tends to happen a lot with a lot of the things that we lack. Into you, then it's quite too late. And sometimes, and as a matter of fact, I read a research where in Ukraine, you do almost started vegan. After age 7, so be obey vegan until about age 6. But 7, I started reading even after that time, some of them are still deficient. It's one of those things where I have people who swear by it, but in practicing, they may want to say, I've always used the vegan diet or anything vegetarian to cleanse the person, to detox the person, get all the heavy metals out. I'm not crying, you didn't grow. I'm saying natural at the count to get things through the liver. Then once that is taken care of, then we usher them into a diet that is based on their current condition. For example, if a diabetic comes in, most likely they're going to go through a 14 or 21 day detox where it is basically vegetarian or vegan. Then at that point, you want to do the diet that is specific to their condition. And that's what I do in clinical practice. So that's why I don't want to be the one to say, but like I said, if you ask me if I want to be a vegan, I will say no.
Okay. All right. So I think that you said everything and everything's well understood. Kwame, quick reaction to that.
Yeah, Kwesi. Okay. I said now I can get quite interesting because I personally know a lot of vegans. I'm a vegan for 30 years. For example, my gym instructor, 51 years old, their friend is George. He's stronger than everybody in the gym, including the 20-year-olds. He's 51. He's not eating meat in 30 years. Classic example. Your friend says, so many people that I know are you need to be 90 who never ate meat in their lives. Krishna Murthy, a lot of people that I personally know all around the world, in India, in other places are vegan for spiritual reasons. They have never eaten meat before. Ghana, radio presenter John Jermaine. John Jermaine is almost 51 years old. And the parents are vegan. He has never tasted meat before in his life. And I also know a lot of vegans who do not take any supplements, who have been vegans for a classic example is Black Rasta. He's been vegan for over 30 years. He is healthy, living his life. He doesn't have any deficiencies. He's as sharp as fire. Sometimes, I think that based on listening to my body and experiencing what I'm experiencing, I think that there are other key factors to consider when you are looking at maybe all-cause mortality. And also when we are talking about health in general, relationships you build, mindfulness, emotional resilience, being centered, eating foods that are low in glycemic index, exercising, even exercising, what type of exercises are you doing? Are you working up your upper body? Are you doing cardio? Are you lifting weights? What is the relationship between oxytocin and cortisol? The amount of sleep that you get. So the whole idea of being a nutrient-dense person, it's supposed to be looked at a holistic, from a holistic perspective, because health is not just diet. It's lifestyle, it's DNA, it is dreams, vision, what you use your body for.
Environment,
if
and
you
everything.
are environment, even the quality of the healthcare in the place that you live. I am thinking that yes, I agree with him, and I also know a lot of people who have lived to be 70 and over, are vegan for 50 years. They are fit. I think that the whole idea is to identify the nutrients we usually lack. For example, vitamin D. That you can get high quality vitamin D when you wake up in Africa in the morning. We just sit down and let the birds and the trees and the land catch the first sunlight, which is life, whilst we are in the rooms pretending to be sleeping. I mean, if you wake up in the morning and come, you will never in Africa. I know if what you are betrayed there, I can't speak for you, but if what Africa there, even if you are vegan, you shouldn't be vitamin D deficient. And vitamin A near the you are carrots mu come on in precursors. It is based on the people who are minimum vegan, Eddie 80 kwakuti mame ne papa. Vegans all their lives. You should see Mami, Mrs. Tutu. You should see them. They are strong, they are happy, they are young. Kwakuti's father, who is also a PhD, he's been vegan for over 60 years. And when you see him, even though he's almost 80, when you see him, he looks like a 40-something-year-old man. The visceral fat in any hole, or you're strong, or you're healthy, it's because he looks at, or they look at life from a holistic perspective and not just diet.
Nice one. Nice one. Now, before I talk about Kwame, the way I see 10 cortisol there. Now, Kwame say it's quite a task just to be vegan, just to stay away from animal protein. It's quite a tall list of things you need to do.
Brakwesi, we always say that food for thought. It means we need to think of our food. The word food for thought means think of your food. And I think that the most important thing to me, Okyeame, is my health. And evaluating my health, I think that diet is 1/4 of the major factors I affecting my health. And why shouldn't I
invest
pay
the
attention
time and
look at it the same way I look at my business? Yes, I look at my business, which is less important than my health.
A little deeper in there, because again, the other day I heard somebody accusing you, so you can afford spirulina, but not everybody can afford spirulina. So just on the side. Dr. Forward there. Quick reaction. Me pacho Bremu, co-host. So
That's okay, I'm saying a meda was in my that a million penny for almost edikan akasa alpha and some year can area. I'm say your chamekano, you know, many are doing when never be home. I'm say Dano, you can vegan, then it seems like we're only focusing on the food, which is essential. We need to focus on that. But we also need to consider the other factors, like he said, the environment, sleep, ensure are we drinking enough water, right? You know, are we staying in the sun, you know, to get our vitamin D and all that kind of stuff. So I think that, you know, if you want to consider vegan from a health point of view, then you have to consider it in its totality, right? For instance, what kind of fats are you getting in your system, right? What kind of fruits are you eating? You know, what kind of vegetables are you eating? Are you balancing between, you know, your fiber intake and all that kind of stuff? Into many arguments say a holistic approach, and yes, be a, you know, because they can't say I'm out for more more baby so yeah and yes, be a orina man just say be a
that's right.
Bibia and I say Odrin so
that's right.
Ital is yep.
Okay. And just an example, you know, something that Okyeame Kwame was saying about with I was in school with one guy like that just recently, just last year. He messaged me. He had come to the States, Grandpa, and he was vegan. He was born vegan, also, right? At the point when I became vegetarian, there were about 3 of us. They made our food separately at school, so we became kind of like friends. But he was born vegan, and one thing that he was known for, you know, this is St. Peter's. He was arm wrestling. You could not come near him, you know. So, right. But I think, say, the dog kind doesn't stray from that.
No.
You also made the point, say, you know, it's a whole lot of things, genetics and all of that. 7, please come in, and this time, if you can, please draw this distinction for us. Vegan, as we know, everything. But then when it comes to the Rastafari culture now, you Ital levity, which is not even just vegan. It is something more, if you ask me.
Absolutely.
Right? Mepacho, touch on that small for us, and then I'll have Doc react to that also and see if there's anything that can be different from what he has already put down.
Yeah, met my kind of in painful Canada, you know, and it's a holistic approach. Yeah. It can't be just a diet thing where you're eating. It's all because Rasta. Of course, there are different opinions among Rasta people.
Yes.
You know, as far as, you know, what is a healthy diet.
Yeah.
So the Rasta people because I'm vegetarian because I want to be able to eat my fish or something.
Yeah.
And then you get people too who be like just plant-based diet. And see, it's a bit touchy talk speaking for other people, but me drink say important to see a bedroom who you know. It's a holistic approach now here, and Professor Ouir Swaka, you know, I like the thing of Chairman Khan about relationships, how we connected to what we're doing and how we're living. If we're connected to the entirety of creation, yes, then I think that's health. But sieko fraction on ye kasi drained ye deep and also an issue, you know. So that's what I'm looking at it from. But I'm more interested in, you know, new ideas or other ideas that some of us haven't thought about yet, you know. And I appreciate what Prof. Council about watching the balance, watching what you're doing. Because I'm eating vegan, but on cheddar onion intentionally. On Dream Jose, how much fiber am I putting in my body? You know, how much of these fats, or, you know, It's just like, oh, I like plant-based diet. I went to a vegan restaurant, food, But when we have to think about them, how much good oils are in your body, put in layman's language, healthy oils. Some of us don't think about that. It's just like, oh, it's plant-based, so I'm eating it.
Basically.
We need to be more intentional about what we're doing. And honestly, I'm more interested in listening and learning, from this conversation.
Yes, and we're also very interested in learning from you, Seven. So
from you
as well. Good balance. Not true. All right, Dr. Ennin, Bepacho, any reaction so far?
Yes. I'm saying Okyeame Kasembi with respect to holistic approach, and honestly, that's what life should be about. It should be about holistic approach. Now, one of the things that with what we do is we are very open-minded. It's a common sense approach with respect to what we do. Now, the reason why I said what I said with respect to the vegan diet, for example, you mentioned spirulina. Spirulina, or the assumption is that it has B12. Okay, and they are selling a bunch of supplements, but really, spirulina doesn't have any B12. The B12 it does have is the analog called the cobamides. Okay, and you name from a plant-based source, I make us say B12 a seaweed. Also, emerging research says cadmium and arsenic, which are all heavy metals, which can be very fatal for some people. So in my practice, because I deal with specifics. So Obi Kachem so a vegan, I'm curious to find out their nutritional profile. For example, B12, most likely local primary care doctor or serum levels of B12, but the free BB holo TC, which is actually the active form of B12 on your CFA. And so if you are looking at this now, you will see that whether you are deficient or not. And most people know vegan they tend to have high levels of BBFN MMA, and I say methylmalonic, and I say BBFN so homocysteine. And usually when I see a rise in those, then I'm curious to find out what is wrong with their what do you call it, the B12. And the best way to find it is not the serum levels, but it's the holo TC, I like to call it. And there's a lot of ways you can look at it. Okyeame mentioned carrots near idea to give vitamin A or the woman say some of the plants they have it, but you because of oxalates and phytates and which are all anti-nutrients, it's hard for you to absorb all of them. And to say idea they have to do 10 times more for them to get that because the absorption is that low. And that is why I'm not very specific with respect to say when you are I use it for cleansing and for short-term use only. In so long term, I believe then say in order to get the calcium from for instance you have to do maybe 10 times more or 12 times more than
so Doc, in relation to that, Mami Bisao, sometimes you get these things in the form of tinctures, right? And concentrated forms of say garlic oil, for instance, or anything at all in a tincture form. Okay. And also don't human beings absorb that easily?
It depends. It depends on the source in this animal. So by US and I know we won't go for more Ghana was sending me a picture of a drew, say, dog, we a good mommy made in the US. So no credit say the fact that it's made in the US doesn't mean it's good. When it comes to Sahaniamana, it's not regulated by the FDA. Okay, I say, many of Chami, you will scar, and Mr. Bakon, you will scar. What we can do is you can put our money together and build a supplement, and you can start selling even in the US. I used to do that myself. Now, the TNS the company will put anything synthetic. Sometimes you can take it, and your body will not take it. You are not absorbing it. I have a colleague friend who's a physician in Ghana. He owns a practice in the airport area. He came to the US, and I gave him a multivitamin, Centrum one a day. And I said that I have a better one, and I gave it to him. And now, because the man a whole food plant-based, everything was intact. So the man, so supplements, you have to take like 6 a day. And Mohano texted me from Ghana, say that the vitamins you gave me is very solid. And I'm saying, what did you see? Or say I wake up every morning as a different person. But something one day, it doesn't do that because one, chemicals no woman they're fortifying and cool your body is not doesn't even see it as a product. Now we're defecating into the fact that it's tin Chinese animal, it can mean well, but depending on the source, it may not do nothing for you.
But doc, most tinctures would be just like extracts of, if it's a plant source, just like a condensed form of that.
Exactly. But keep in mind, so for them to stabilize it, they are adding other things to it.
I see.
Okay.
All right. That makes the point for me. Okay.
And because of that, it's hard for me to say that. But let's assume, say, okay, now we agree that just because we cannot overdo certain things or we can't do certain things, you're best supplementing it's fine. Then you have to look at the right source. So by your practice, you will near more how baby some folic acid that made will be $10. I can give you some that is $30 or $40 because of the source. There's a company, I'm not marketing for them, no affiliation, but I sell their product. It's called Standard Process. Omubi BIA whole food based. Okay. Intermonium born tends to be expensive. In the US, you can only get it from a practitioner's office. Lately, some people are selling it on Amazon. Even Amazon, for example, multivitamin, a higher ton $50. Amazon, I'm sure you buy it for like 68 or 70. It's because it's been there since 1948 or so, and it's of high quality. Into supplements, even walk on Amazon, you see different ones, and it doesn't mean that it's going to do the job for you. The best, and with functional medicine, we always have this thing we say, you always test and not guess. The absolute best way to find out is to test. Once you test and you're deficient, then you can say, oh, you're good, and that's when you're good. And keep in mind, Okyeame made a point that DNA, animal, environment, all of them comes into play. And because of our genetic differences, we'll be deficient for the rest of their life and manifesting but just by genetic predisposition, or you deficient in vitamin A, so that's where the variability comes in. I remember working years ago and I met a gentleman. I was asking, pick a draw, you be with date of birth. So, Papa born date of birth, he was about 80 something years old, but he looked like he was 40 or 50, maybe 60. Okay, so I asked him, so what do you do? I mean, you look so young. And I said, of course, and you're Ghana, you use football age. So this is America, white American.
That's it.
Look, right. I don't know, Okyeame said, but he drinks whiskey every day. Keep in mind, whiskey
that's right.
Okay. So that is why with what I do, I am very specific with, let's say, if Okyeame came to me and by his medical history, you're fairly out, and because of that, your history is about 30 pages long. It's done electronically in the Mawa. And yes, actual date of birth, that's it. You have to go through extensive paperwork and pertaining to your health. As a matter of fact, it can even go back and ask you what you were eating about 5 years ago in this animal. The reason is because all of those things come into play. And when Fanny well-registered also said he's a vegan, my approach towards him is a bit different. He has opened doors for me to look at certain things, and if in fact it pertains to the line of things we are doing. And yes, supplementation is absolutely necessary if you can get it from the right source. But what I wanted to point out and say, certain things you will say with your mouth, on paper, say you get it from carrot, and I say you get it from whey, but really you are not going to get it. What is in carrot, is a precursor, like he rightly said, and that precursor is the beta carotene, and has to be converted to the active form, which is the retinol. The body doesn't do a good job doing that. And yes, you have to do a lot more. And keep in mind, vegetable, because of this, it's anti-nutrient nearmanity. Most people internet so yes. Chicken now but woman vegetable now once on because of sign manity.
Who said me little boy do ever feed the other day now what sticker maybe bunny chest. I ate a vegetable from school. Your man fast because he ate a vegetable at school.
Yes.
That's how.
And for that reason, and I'm very, very specific with Sanyo man. The person can be fine. The person can even grow to be 90 and 100, and they are fine, and they may not show anything. But so you have to be in the know. Certain things, they are manifesting certain symptoms, but it has become a norm for them. They don't think, say, for example, your make just or diabetic, your make just or hypertensive. So they don't really see, say, is because of a deficiency of something. So some people too have those things. So that is why with what I do, and I'm happy to be doing what I do, because this has been the most rewarding part of my 20-year career, because idea for the first time,
You've been a doctor for 20 years?
Yes.
How old were you when you became a doctor?
Right now, I'm almost 50.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So, New Testament.
Yes. That is what it is. I believe that you have to look at the holistic approach. Okay. You have to look at the whole thing. Kwame, he looks healthy. Everything is good for him. Chances are he may not even have to see the doctor. Keep in mind, so we would do the standard American diet, which is more similar to Ghana Indian. So we do rice and beans, we do gari, we do soakings, and now we jai a vegan. Of course, you're going to see a massive transformation in health. Minimobia, odi ye fufu na no change bedi ultimate fufu. Immediately he lost weight. But one of the things that was still eminent was that his A1C, and drop bebre, which is a marker of diabetes, But we wait in the Olusu man, he was happy. But what transition? So there are so many variabilities, and keep in mind, not everybody is the same. So Mr. Bako and Mr. Okyeame will come to me with diabetes, and I'll approach it differently, because primary care, both of you are getting metformin. It doesn't matter what you say to the doctor, but with us, it doesn't work that way. We go with specifics, we go with the testing, we go with what is manifesting in terms of your clinical performance.
Nice. Dr. Ponwadie, me pacho bremu. But quick one before Doc Bebe. Doc, whether you know one line amame me pacho. Say obi Doc Ennin, I mean, you will one line amame me pacho. And send a Doc Ponwadie bremu. Say also obi quite regular place that they will give them metformin, like Sinopro whatnot. Na say obi ba ohonoma now so we test need the BBA, Do you still give them metformin and those type of things, or you give them a different type of medication?
No, so first of all, we need to find out what is driving the issue. For example, in the will be example, say on any they have.
So I guess I'm sorry to interrupt, but I guess what I'm asking is, do you still use those same conventional medicines?
No, we don't.
Okay.
Everything we use is natural. As a matter of fact, not for long term too. And for example, most people will be diabetic and also hypertensive, or a deficiency in potassium, magnesium, vitamin D. Into just by leveraging the diet and giving them those things, once the blood pressure are resolve it. So that's how we approach it.
I see. Good. All right. Yo, me that's it. Doc.
Yes, sir. Yeah. I'm say, as some kakra mechanic say, that will cut Ital ne vegan.
Yeah.
And also, it's just near kakra. Ital a bit very deceptive terminology, because we are or we are cook up
That's right. I guess these different things to different people.
And I'm said idea about so they say me said not me to say if I say before to me Riben too. Now who feel say why we a vegan into okay, right?
Yeah.
But I think say within your community, say in terms of knowledge about how to be able to live without creating more complications. That makes sense. So they be also in say if I say umia benku mienu umia dokunu mienu umia a vegan, all right, but never be na wo with the a bit to me. I'm a balance no abem. So what I say can I say?
Yeah.
So any man na me just say you can't want to say say can say be a vegan which me DBB and I say
Yeah.
I say, Ushesania, Ubedino, and Nema Benson, I say, Udin more, and Nema Benson.
And Chemumai said, Yakase, Obi a Itala, and I say Italista. To your understanding, forget about Omomo, me chicken as Ital, no. From where you sit, what does the Ital food choice entail?
Okay. Maybe I'm me break it down word Ital now. Where's two about in my natural and vital, right? Into say you first had 2 words now. You bet me I can say, of course, your perspective near say a plant based, right? But at the same time, no, the main thing is a plant based, no. I say a vital, so I say a idea who here want to mean of
What do you need? Here, yeah, there's what do you need?
into you can't Itala, Missana Mihuno, Nemo, Mekaka Honsus say, be Judy say Ital Nankasa and Kasa and Chinakra, and so say
Exactly.
so that's what can I say. And I don't see a perspective. But we Ital for be brave or how moody in Chine Kakra. So that's what can I say.
Yeah.
Into Sana Mihuno.
I see. Yo, Chame, updates be so far.
Yeah, senior. Oh, so far the very, very eye-opening conversation. I mean, Mr. Conversation here we are faber to Ghana no BNTV because the conversation on vegetarian versus carnivore it's becoming quite popular in Ghana, and I don't think any platform has brought practitioners, any professionals together to have such an open-minded, mature conversation. And one thing that I want to say is that 8 years ago, I was minya BP. I had metal starting drugs so. And I was on it for a while. And now my wife say, "Oh, what is it? Starting drugs no?" And then eventually, I be man your mama emre. And share alternative. And share alternative. And I mean, in that time, no, na me dinam. And share alternative no. And you push your plant based. Enti enye me BP nkwana na ewo so na me BP was rama head of cardiology ewo Kwelebu. Last time I was testing me or checking me pressure and he almost slapped me akola kitwa aden e dey how because I checking my kuma no ayi bibi ahwe ha me but me pressure no kwa na ekosoro na enye no nkwa na me LDL yeah, friend bad cholesterol. I mean, for lack of a better word, me bad cholesterol also. Even though send a threshold near 3.0, maybe I know Koya could do almost 5. I will be at me at me BMI, me Ketwa. Maybe I know Koya could do almost 5. I know so near the Yamame drew a man. Now, guess what? When I got off, sir, another one soon say, Kwesi who the only me that unim send me more problem from 10 in me what stomach ulcer from 10 ABC pointer me jai enamdi no doc me BP no gone me test ya it is our palafo from there 2 me bad cholesterol no me no man me drew abro 1 year still the ejina me jai enamdi no in less than 3 months. Now a free 4.7, a drone chamber 4.7, aqua could do 2.4. My doctor now or no shemino, my doctor and bone dear, my doctor now or shemino, no soon BP in the bad cholesterol no was through. After them, send me values no command was a or could do na kaunia. Chese or no doctor no or no akechi, enti, eba be chemua babe pim. 8 years, echo 9 years in every 3 months. I'm sort of a brand ambassador for MBS Lancer Laboratories, so I get to do my test. Now, when him say doctor no or a pathologist, and he makes sure say I'm doing the necessary vital test, not any many. My values are amazing. I sleep better. First, that time, I used to get maybe 2 hours of sleep. Now I can sleep. If I have nothing to do, I can sleep, wake up, eat, and sleep again. And basically, you know that I have always been a person. I'm very athletic. I've worked out from the time I was 20 until me could be 50. The only thing that changed when I became a vegan or vegetarian is that I also threw away all processed foods alongside processed meat, sausages, processed sugar, white bread, bleached, and potato, KFC, chicken. I also threw that away. And that could also be a factor to why I may have such a holistic experience, but the taking away namno that I know that took away my stomach ulcer completely, and I had it over 30 years. And
interesting.
Where I think is that meat eventually becomes uric acid through a hydrochloric acid, a combination eventually becomes uric acid. Now, a change pH levels. Because per me experience for the past 8 years, me who say my level of alkalinity high or my blood as my test can. It also affects my mood. Even my children says I'm a much better dad. My wife says I'm a much better husband. Ras 4 years me boom fuida. What the cat now saying because spray my car almost 20,000 Ghana. A 19-year-old boy be the motor between man tianumpo. And I think that it has a connection with the type of food I eat. Because emwana yedi omono. Sa emwana are living in fear all the days of their lives. Now they imagine say me amejina way me nipa. I'm not supposed to lead a sedentary lifestyle. Now they may say prison, Emma me cubic meters be say me njina hosa all the days of my life. Now mindi aduane a mindi wheat, oat, millet, any hormones. Na me di hormones need say we na say me ye fat. Na say ekuro tutu me a. Na enkofo na e fa me no. Asa be mame antibiotics. Yeah, I live in fear with hormones and antibiotics all my life. Then minini a yede ma ye adwuma wie ni asan atwamiti. Such abuano and the cortisol levels here high. Say wudia cortisol have a direct relationship with happiness levels or stress levels, new sleep. And one thing that will be to me that doctor for am and melatonin, which is sort of the opposite of cortisol. And I think that there are many other reasons why and we must encourage them to be vegan, because beyond compassion, it's also the conversation on climate change. Say every day via UN research see cows 900,000 and nipa kum omu wiase. Sa nipa ewo wiase say 9 billion. Emu 1% and Ital na vegan. 8 billion na aka no. Omo nyina di nam. Eti emu no omu di ni we hen. Omo te hen. Ensuo be no omo nom. Asase be no omo te so. How many trees and ye clear no in every second? Said the beya ibenya baby dia farm somewhere. Sa emwe methane wo mu ampa. Does it cause global warming? And if a person can eat a vegan diet and based on the knowledge shared by doc, also through supplementation, take supplements unlucky necessary vitamins, say choline near there. We're losing the eyesight in there. Argentina encouraging a lot more people almost predisposed to be able to do it so that you can cut it down the climate change problem by at least 12%. This is what I wanted to add.
Nice one. 7. Your tone catch it, please. Come in.
Monsieur Bibio. Yeah. Question, doctor. Medical doctor. What's it or folic acid at $10 there, and another one about how much?
About 28 or 30 something. I will have to check the specific, but no boy didn't change $10. Okay,
$10. Never my idea. What's the quality near different, right?
Absolutely.
It's health is priceless, right? Is it a matter of if you can afford it, you're going to be healthier?
Absolutely.
Great question.
In this regard, yes. So with what I do, I was in Ghana for some time, maybe sometime in April, and after that I received a lot of calls. And with what we do, unfortunately in the US, insurance doesn't pay, and I hate to say it can be that expensive when you want to see me one-on-one, and that's just because of how the system is now. So unfortunately, with those things, your money is going to determine the quality that you get with respect to our supplement, and not just that, not just the one specific one, but all the friend said nutritional grade, and I said pharmaceutical grade, and I said practitioner grade supplement. And we have a company called Designs for Health. We have a company called Metagenics. We have the standard process. Money in a high quality, very expensive, and that's the job. As a matter of fact, I use those because it's quality tested in this animal. I kind of see them as prescription drugs because you want the therapeutic dose. For example, the daily dose of potassium right now, it's about almost 5,000 milligrams a day. Okay, so I just with the greens, 10 cups a day, green leafy vegetables. Now, obi on your vegan, and also obi on your vegetarian, they will not be doing that. And as a matter of fact, I know a lot of vegetarians who don't do that many a day. Okay, and for that reason, they have to supplement it. And your supplement here, there's diverse ways about to my and nipa and especially hypertension, one of the absolute best ways, and I say your potassium has to be optimized. And most of the time, your doctor is not going to tell you that because on 2% pen or serum on tia check serum say normal is normal, but everyone say they're not Okyeame cano. Emphasize we brodo person, if you are with the oatmeal and that's with the jollof, and you with the banku, to say your dog kind, with this particular diet, you're not going to get potassium. Until you call Dr. Horner say, who potassium, you're normal. Don't deceive yourself. You don't have potassium. But there's a way to test it, which is called RBC potassium. That will actually give you a better picture of what is going on. And with respect to Ndrone there, I'm sorry to tell you, Usika Nebetre, because here and maybe a way, you won't go for you or say, this particular population on be a boy or modern, and about $10 then but the quality one, I'll point you to it, and that's what it is.
I'm saying now 7 as someone will be sano. Part be una answer man. Or say $10 there no. Would that also do the job?
I don't think so.
Because
Okay.
maybe I know only $10 maybe, but at least so no sooner $10 be by $10 force the say something like that.
Because so at the end plant-based synthetic. Your body most likely is not going to recognize it, and you are not able to go.
$10 then normally synthetic.
It's synthetic. It's not bioavailable until one.
It's like a placebo type of thing. And at 7 years, I now be sir.
Based along those purposes on a personal level, how do you feel about that? The synthetic might be on him say it won't do much. And now about
in the beginning, right? And in the beginning, when we first started this business, now because I go to different places to talk, I do health talks and the idea. So people will, by way of doing that, will follow me into the practice to buy something. And the word on the street became say, but what they don't realize is that they are getting something different. Okay. And is what the company wants us to sell it. Into my example said the one of the brand name so is going to be $20 more, $30 more. And it's not that. Maybe I may feel it, but it get to a point where keep in mind we have a pharmacy here. In the pharmacy, you won't go for mobile. We begin the prescription and the doctor catch and say, "Oh, we have folic acid and I say we have B12." So me ko yipa pani be mana. I on cry mostly carry with her for $20. Man, it's expensive. I'll go to Walmart and just so that you also appeal to them. You know, I'm just being honest. Appeal to them. We have that in there for them. And people actually trust my honesty. So one can the end of it for then I say maybe the and sometimes I even go to the back and show them what I am taking. It's an individual thing, and most of them, and especially with some of the Ghanaian people, because I heard no boarding from the Ghanaian people. So but keep in mind, these are things that I see them as the same category as prescription drugs, high quality and very tested.
No, on an extended, we say no. I think say we can take that discussion a little further because Osha, you were certain medications, right? And then when you go to Ghana, they have versions of that medication. They have generic versions of that medication, and those are easily available in Ghana. And even in Ghana, no, they are generic versions of the generic version, if you know what I'm saying. Because a drobi or pharmacy, no, ube hu bi wɔ hɔnom, but ne no, you better choose a different one be wɔ hɔnom. I will call drugstore. Pharmacy versus drugstore. No akwakoto no, and no susika beso. Na ya to no sa near the call. Generally speaking, Ufu say, are we getting? Make us say, are we as a country? No, what's going on there? Are we getting good medicine? Simply put, in Ghana,
I'm not sure, but I don't believe so. The reason why is this: my late uncle, now, my Sobesram years ago, no. At that time, he was the finance manager for Goyle. Okay, so he had access to Goyle. As a matter of fact, at that time, no man saw a clinic for them for Impeniforno. So he was being taken care of there. Into buying, everything that or the buying, I gave him some here. But interestingly, I had the and sugar near Kama, but Ghana it was high. Okay, so that part I don't know. But I say years ago when I was in Ghana, I recall, if I recall correctly, that there was a guy who was doing a program. I'm not sure if it's FISBAFO or something. Okyeame program called Germany, if I recall, not Ghana for Germany. And if I recall correctly, and I stand to be corrected because I checked more than 30 something years ago. And can say so much manufacturers no Sadia 200 milligram or okay. Or the more inscription no 200 milligram na munfa 10 milligram inside. And sometimes it's sub-therapeutic. I recall something like that very well. That's way before I even came to the US. Okay. And sometimes when I see those things, I think that that's why those things come into play. And of course, help or develop what the formula number India. Whether they are doing it right or not, I don't know. And I do believe, there's some type because of a born and I don't think they are getting
some compromises may be going on.
Exactly, and they're not getting stuff. With respect to that, a good friend of mine, per se a supplement, but because of my experience in this now, I didn't want to do it. The entire like I said, I have done it before. I have registered with the Food and Drug in Ghana before 2009. I did that. And I just had a supplement company give them the formula. They did it. They gave me the certificate of analysis, paperwork. I took it to Ghana and we were in business. But now in my capacity now, I don't want to do that. And if I do it, it's not going to be for the Ghana market. When I say Ghana market, I mean Ghana because it will be expensive. And the reason is this, because you see in the once I'll take it to a third party for quality testing. They will test and two, is it bioavailable? So those things, so then it adds cost to the product, and most of the supplements in the US, it's not third party tested. Into Amazon, and say now almost you Amazon because fake is because of that, because if you have petrochemicals in the idea, my now supplements now heavy metals a woman for somebody with genetic predisposition, it can be a problem for you.
Interesting.
It depends the dynamics, I'm sorry to tell you, say $10 then it may not work for you.
Interesting.
But
interesting. Well, free advice: don't buy supplements from the dollar store. I don't know why. Supplements are sold in the dollar store. I just don't get it.
I also wanted to kind of touch on what Dr. Wadi had said with respect to say the fact that you're vegan TBB now would be. Now, one of the things is that cardiovascular diseases any metabolic disease for that matter. Now, say who di banku because yes we vegan who di near high glycemic index and that's high carbohydrate now. It can be a problem. One of the things most people don't know, and I've seen that both in vegans and vegetarians, and even the people who are just doing the standard American diet, and they say, if you know mood, maybe from a quality source, but carbohydrate in the dose, sugar in the dose. And for that matter, no, it is raising their blood glucose and in turn raising their insulin levels. One of the things that causes major problem, whether it's hypertension, whether it's diabetes, whether it's cancer, whether it's all the metabolic diseases and high levels of insulin. Okay, and these high levels of insulin can be a problem for a lot of diseases. Now, the catch-22 is this: in conventional medicine, you're a lab tester. Once say fast insulin, maybe will have depend on the lab, because say less than 20 is okay. Now say me here back say less than 18.4 is good. But then the fasting 13, which was normal in a conventional setting, but it's not really true. So preventing cardiovascular disease, preventing cancer, and this animal, your fasting insulin has to be 5 or less. Okay, so sometimes you can have a plant-based diet and still have metabolic issues because say you're high glycemic, will be a no or did it twice a day, fruits area and a fruit in or quite a pre-diabetic. Okay, so we have to look at all this from a different perspective, and also to talk about what Kwame was saying with respect to meat and cortisol levels. I'm not privy to that because Sabuano or cortisol. I don't know if that translates to you having cortisol in your body. That I don't have any. I'm not privy to that as far as research or anything. As far as the things that I've seen, and with respect to what he experienced with his way, I have seen that with some people. Because Ojai Neomani what he was doing. Of course, once processed meat comes out. And as a processed food comes out, you're going to see a lot of differences in your health. Only a barcode. And with respect to the digestive system, I have also seen people who have healed the gut with carnivore diet on an individual basis. As a matter of fact, carnivorians actually push more for that because of how it works. Now, with respect to meat causing high uric acid, that's the purpose of the kidneys to do that. And with HCl or not hydrochloric acid, that's obiano. By default, Yankopon boy say enough hydrochloric acid and I say HCl in our gut. Oh no, your pH is supposed to be between 2 and 3. So who needs our pH now? You're gonna have issues with your digestive system. Now you can be deficient in HCl just by nutrient deficiencies, B vitamins especially, potassium especially. It's a holistic thing. So some people you may be great with it, but on the far end, and as a research is concerned, it is not working like that for the mass people. So with cases like this, I don't take one person's case and run with it. I just have to look at the bigger picture and what is driving the person's issue. That's what I wanted to point out with the two things that raised, and also with respect to the high glycemic index that Dr. Ouir pointed out.
Okay, thank you very much, Doc. Okay, me perceive because you've mentioned processed foods, right? Now, the other thing with vegans, Italists, is that when we cut out the meat from our food now, a lot of us tend to replace the meat with processed protein, right? So you find the fake drumsticks, you go to a restaurant and you find the fake chicken drumsticks and the fake. I have some store I say China Times Square. It's right over. It's called China Times Square. Everything you find fake everything in that store. It's not a store, it's actually a mall, but there's a particular store being there. You find fake duck, fake lamb, fake shrimp, fake octopus, fake everything under the sun. Like everything has been fake, right? And that's supposed to replace the chicken that you are missing. Now we decided to obey Jino. Maybe Kwame say on compassionate way saying, I don't eat chickens anymore. Okay, here, eat wheat shaped like a chicken thigh or something like that. Processed protein, is it good for us? Is it something we should be eating? Doc, Mami started from, in fact, 7. Mami started from, because I trust your answer will be pretty short. Nyampanko Doc, so Nyampambra Kwame, so Nyambe and Doc Ennin. So.
Yeah, my best make it in short. It's like at that point we're eating memories, right? So okay, time around here, you know what I mean? Basically,
yeah,
they're problematic. You know what I'm saying? If I actually, I notice a lot of people never get off that. You know, some of it call it what? Some of them call it midway diet, and that would be so they use it to transition to the healthy thing too, and they never get off it. You know, they never actually want to fully engage with plant foods. You know, they're always in between, like, okay, yeah, a little bit of maybe the contomere, and I want more of this, you know. And I heard of another story of how these vegan restaurants in Ghana, you know, CEO contomere, speaking of contomere, but we should have vegan restaurant could do cabbage, right?
Yeah.
And skip the contomere. I know they're vegan, or it's not as valuable. So it looks like we're eating ideas, we're eating memories, we're eating advertisement, because that's what's happening in that store. You know, the packaging, you know, oh, it looks so cool. It reminds me, it tastes like this beef, but it's not what you really want, you know. And of course, I just say we have to look at food differently. That's what I think. You know, some of us are looking at food. Even sometimes it's to take something to have fun with, you know, something to feel good about as an end in itself. You know, a lot of people eat. You notice the way I'm off with me, KBBC or DBBOC is good, right? You hear that quite a bit. Food that's clogging your arteries, so it's because so good. Right? So I'm saying we need another way to look at food. That's what I'm thinking, you know. But quick one as far as now, Kwame Ennin, medical Dr. Ennin. Before say we can work something out here, you know, looking at the holistic thing. I mean, Dream said, we're looking at tomorrow. What kind of world are we going to be living in, right? That's what we're pushing for, right? We're taking scenario you're living right now. But we're looking at the tomorrow where a lot of these calculuses are used to in terms of economics. We're not certain that this is how tomorrow is going to be. When I say tomorrow, I don't mean literally, right? So you're dreaming some of these things a little more in terms of the future, right? And that's where I'm about. Let's think of the environment. Let's think of. I mean, some of us are not eating plant-based diets because we are so compassionate and we want to save the environment, right? Because that's how we eat. That's what works with us, right?
Yeah.
But you're kind of important, you know, because if we're too invested in the present economic arrangement, you know, I don't know if we're really that interested in tomorrow. That's all I wanted to say.
Nice. Succinctly put. 7. Doc. Doc Wiro. Doc Wade. Upon Wade. Doc Otimenka.
Sorry,
no, me too. Okay, all right.
Now me can say asem kakra mpese me can say enemre so we share aduane a yebe di no ese ye hwe be bi because even with the meat and the fish that you know we share so I mean a lot of fish have been what word do I use? Impacted negatively through all the things that are in the sea, mercury, numnia. So, you know, consumption of those things also, you know, bring those things into your system. Now, we look at cows, for instance, especially, you know, here and even back home, because you see, Aroko Ghana, these kind of things are mostly imported from abroad and brought back home. Chemicals, name metals, near idea, hormones
and stuff.
Right, hormones need a baby. Well, a school, a criticity already by 8 years. Hormones now why we are into are impacting into and also the idea is you know you might any come. In our face, even in Habaya we I said no see because
Papa.
Omo di niyama bebre aguso. Your friend is saying pesticides.
Yes.
Fertilizer,
preservatives. I'm
saying, I mean, my question is, say, you can't vegan and Ital. And yes, Ukoya no coffee be now the wedi, not just a habantina worry. Never be always say, you decoya dream say, if an amina media near fee.
Yes.
That's what can I say?
Yes.
I say, you share no so because I know so.
Which I think is part of the whole Ital concept, because there's this priest, Bobo priest, some time ago, and I was visiting him over there in Nungwa, and Obi buy no breno idiane, right, or breno foodstuffs. Now, as part of the breno, there was a bag of frozen tomatoes. Now, the reaction to frozen tomatoes, you would not believe it. Obi all chena no, and everything else was nice, but just that bag of tomatoes, and he was like, the deeper notch, I then got a whole lecture on why his food doesn't have to go into the fridge to start with, right? In the case of Ital, Nankasana, it also entails a lot more than just plant-based. This is the point I was trying to make earlier. Now, Kwame, remember I was used to say, Nambe Pacho, before I forget, Doc Ennin, so me fear after Kwame will be my answer Saturday with mommy. Frozen foods, no. Me find say frozen fruit, right? Mako Costco and BJ's or whatever. Mako koto bag of frozen strawberries, frozen mango, frozen all of that. Does it have the same nutritional value as the original? Me garden street na medina. Me pachi do so for a honeka humame. But Kwame, let's come to you now. Okyeame.
Kwesi.
Yeah. Processed protein.
Clear, Papa.
Kafra. Nami bisa say processed protein, right? Say you move the door na. Me say, for instance, I even have a YouTube show. I'm cooking foods that are like quote unquote dear to my heart. Foods that my mother has cooked for me for all these years until I decided to turn vegan, and I refused to move away from it. So I'm reproducing that food in a vegan format, right?
Me too.
You tend to notice that along the line, I tend to use some processed vegan, you're kind of saying protein, in a sense, just to stay as close as possible to the original recipes. But is it good for us? Processed protein, big things to say. It's a whole industry now. Certain stores are your plant-based sections.
Yes, it is
plant-based everything. Is it something we should really be eating?
Yeah, may say me quite wary of it. For example, say me too kwanya, na say me ni fie dia, o mame processed beyond meat, any sourdough bread, any fresh vegetables I made. Me too kwanya bia me ho baby a, me nkyere me ho bebre. And I say come de me na me made plant-based way no. But it will be like 5% of my whole diet in the year. Say me will fear dia. Me make sure say me source organic. Me neighbor, immediate neighbor, or your farmer or farming organic vegetables, fruits in your dear. And a farms. Or your neighbor.
Your pineapple juice
from the farm. From
a Kumfi pineapple juice, Nana.
Neighbor.
Charlie, that juice is banging. Free commercial. Listen,
yes.
Me neighbor bako.
Preservatives beer.
I tell you, me neighbor bako. I'm so Ghana store, right? Na ne normal no. Ebi ho names the barber expire and he decided to go around and give it away to the neighbors and stuff. Into a brain, 2 boxes of a Kumfi juice, no. Listen, it compares to nothing that's on any shelf in America here. It's banging. Me person me kasa at some point.
Oh, Ras, I can tell you on authority, say preservative bakuse Ukraine. He keeps it fresh by taking away the amount of air a woman micro the biodiversity are high. And they say on one clear be not enough to cause glycation, but on one kid to be said a beche. It's a fat heat process kakre bi mu. A preservative BN. And the farm necessarily organic because he is trying to sell to certain hotels in the US and in UK, and they insist on organic.
Yeah.
And I buy my say we will feed yeah. I make sure say me 12 free the but say me need fear and say obey be wu ana ne yiri suru. And because my yiri so why na adwen say wada ne hu vegan chef immediately nti enyoma no enyoma e tasty to say satan ne tempe ne soy ni ade say me say me soy say me to free Chinese for because omu krom ho no omu emfa mu GMO soy illegal omu the fear butchery ne Europe uba no eno de GMO and
most of it, not all.
Say me will fear dia me processed food and not all of it. Say me will fear dia me but say me too kind dia now me will play mu na omo ama me vegan food because omo sheda okay so you vegan na you why don't you just eat it like that now say or the abana come de me flight here ko China come de me dia medi and I say to that dey bia me pese me indulge ya say bia wie bia ne nkwala no ko baby ye kwa kodidi na daddy nkwa wa hu vegan you are killjoy and me indulge but no me drew fear pe I will make sure say I will walk for 15 minutes. I will sweat. I will say me to my body. I will drink a lot of water, and then I will walk. Say me to play my mess. Sorry, I could yes squats to make sure that I sort of find a way to lower the effect of and someone on my body. And I agree, but I indulge sometimes. But when I'm home, I am completely careful. I eat fresh. But in reality, to say a white rice here, usually I will maybe a quinoa and I say before fry a seno. But say me the more chef fridge more research kakra me who say adia chimu a chef fridge mo so a ne starch levels so take by 40%.
That's what I'm hearing.
Because the chemical composition necessary. But so many shame. Yes, so many shame 4 days and so I need develop modes. Then also Daniel and for 20. And I'm sending and saying, me did me more. Say research me right there. Me no me more. Me the chef fridge my dear chance and me di. Say the glycemic index never form kakra. And some because if I don't indulge, sometimes I am a cold dog. Me cold donam. Me me just say me a case namunya da me a hypocrite. It is a cold dog say me di fufu ni ebia. Something that tastes like corned beef. Yeah, they make me fufu ni beyond meat in quine. But once in every 3 months average.
Okay, cool. Me adeba call the Benjamin ice cream. Non-dairy ice cream, no. I tell you, if you want to that one, you go take
ice cream.
I can't stay away from that one. I mean, it's just a sugar so won't power. And yeah, man, but Kwame, who be that?
That's a question. Ice cream there. So bet my ice cream will fear a purely plant-based. Other sugar be any. O mango, fra with your man as a freeze here. Say no.
Say me to me a tofu so few, and I am a cost of tofu. Adaje, yo, why you think you will but
question patch mama can't send back when
Koso.
Mama can't assemble back when she dog. Me patch where you know cortisol na a one and muno. Even after yakuno me patch say who Google say is cortisol still present in a dead cow? And does it still stay in there after it has been cooked?
But then also, is it transferable?
And does it have an effect on mood?
Okay, but my question, which should bridge all of that gap,
because
is it transferable?
All of that above,
Empire. Okay.
All of the above, yep.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you. Doc Ennin, me pacho.
Yo, me that say, Okyeame, I'm say, like you said, I'm not privy to that, so I will look. But one thing that you said initially in your submission when we started was the individual differences. Okay, that plays a big role. Our genetic makeup
Mm-hmm.
plays a big role in all these things that we are talking about. So, with respect to that, I am not a vegan, I'm not a vegetarian, and I'm not a carnivore. I try to go low on the carbs as much as possible. And of course, once in a while you overindulge. But just let me clarify something for Chami. So if you do process stuff and you can do all the
Okay.
stuff you want, it's not gonna. It doesn't offset it. Okay. So if you like say if you do high glycemic
Okay.
insulin, then the exercise may come into play because it will lower your blood glucose and in turn lower your insulin because you increase insulin sensitivity. But if you have
Okay.
pesticide, if you have the seed oils, you're not going to offset that by just doing squat. As a matter of fact, it can take about 8 weeks for some of them, sometimes 2 months for a seed oil to leave your system. So we have to keep in perspective what we are talking about and what we are doing now. And not to say that I don't do that. I'm just pointing out to you from a standpoint of knowing when to do the exercise and when not to do the exercise. Okay. Now, with respect to you asked about frozen food. See, um, usual vegetables, they are their peak when it's ripe and you have it. Okay, so when you freeze it at that point, most of the time it will maintain its nutritional value. But it depends on the fruits too. There's some variability. But and that's a move freeze, then it doesn't really affect it much. Maybe it can be minimal. That is very not significant. And that's what I have senior colleagues in this thing that I do that I see. I meet sparingly in seminars that they like to do that. I don't, but they like to do that. I hardly do fruit. If I do it sparing once in a while when I'm in Casco, I will get the apple pear, but I hardly do any of them. But OBI is different, and that's why I pointed out. Say I know of a lady fruit at noon, fruit around 4 or 5 p.m. every day, and she became pre-diabetic. Into beer issue, quite different. So in terms of the processed nyamani, anything processed, it will have a bit of seed oil here, canola oil, soybean oil, and all the white flour. Those things are the ones that can actually impact our metabolic health. Intina, there were a lot of vegans, even though they are vegans and in their head and they are doing everything right, they are seriously diabetic. They seriously have a metabolic issue. I think, say, with respect to Okyeame's way of eating, I think he's doing very well simply because he took away the processed food because oil play a big role. So we white flour free. That's the we friend is saying sugar free will die to more, all the processed stuff free will die to more, and you are doing vegan, of course you're going to see a marked improvement in your health. But somebody may do the same thing and will see improvement, but long term and that's where the genetic differences come in. And I also, just by virtue of what I do, I look into specifics because the fact that Okyeame came and told me that he's healthy doesn't mean I'm not going to test. I'm going to test him. Over here, I know he's deficient in B12, even though he's not showing symptoms. It's going to show just that his body is used to it. He thinks it's normal. When it comes to those things, but semi a vegan, that's a my advice. It's very good. Say he will do a holistic approach, not just looking at the environment, but specifically the labs. You want to look at the holo TC. You want to look at your fasting insulin. You want to look at your A1C. Because I said more suffer be by years ago, when you mild stroke. Now, of Ghana and A1C go 5.9. And I has about 6.2. No, when you mild stroke. Of Ghana, it dropped about 5.9. And he told me his doctor in Ghana say, hey, okay. It is not okay if your A1C is 5.9. Everybody is supposed to be between 4.8 and 5.2. And there's so many things that you want to factor in, especially when you're looking at your health in general. And I like I said, until we and with the Ital thing that you were talking about, I think it's a very good idea because you guys, besides eating vegan, you're also looking at the wholesome part of it, and that's the key. Because wheat, chicken, that's the one. Say one wheat, it has the gluten. For somebody, it will affect your gut. For a lot of people, I want to mean the vegetables because of the anti-nutrient in there. Wheat, you will just be you see that their gradient is high. It means that they are reacting to the heat. Excuse me. you see, say they are minimum beer or juicy or stomach issue or atrophic gastritis. It is case by case um, um, situation when it comes to these things. So for me, if you come in, let's say if Okyeame came in and he had an issue and I tested him and I saw something, of course I'm going to work with him alongside the lines that he is comfortable doing. The only time though that I am very, very strict and I said some people you have to be in ketosis. Ketosis means you have exhausted all the sugar in your body, and now your body is running on a different fuel, which is ketones. For example, I believe in metabolic approach to cancer, which is but we believe that cancer is because of metabolic issues. A lot of things can cause cancer, even parasites, even mold. But conventionally, you believe it's a genetic, something we call somatic mutation. And of course, you're more kimono and work here, and that's the last straw. But somebody will fast, somebody will go low carb on their meals, and reverse their cancer is because they are running on ketones. And at that point, I am very, very specific. I'm not going to let you do the wache. I'm not going to do the the fruits and all those things. As a matter of fact, if you do any fruit, it's going to be berries, and even that apparently because you find be prepared, you go beyond the threshold. There's a lot of things for me, just based on what I do. No, I look at the situation and I handle it from that point, just based on.
I see. All right, Doc. Nice segue. Very nice segue into, and we'll be rounding up the discussion very soon. Let's factor that in. But let's all try to chime in from here to the end. No, yeah, segue into replacing those things, no, that we find problematic in quotes, right? For instance, me say, to be honest with you, if you try to separate me from fufu, it's not possible. Well, I'm just being frank. And I think it's genetic because my father was like that. I'm like that, and my kids are like that. My kids, do Ghanaian food, so no. The fufu kenke esi onuma. The way they naturally love it, no. That's why I'm saying it's genetic because they don't react the same way to every Ghanaian food, right? So there's something about fufu I feel say, I don't know, I'm just saying. But what I'm saying is that some of us love these foods very much. TZ, kokonte, I love these foods. And I'm trying to stay with those foods. And now I'm also trying to stay healthy. That's where your products come in, True Green Foods. Now, again, and what True Green Foods more money different from bag of personally brand BRD, but bag of fufu metal, which by the way I think is terrible because me reading normal idea, a lot of it is fillers. There's more fillers in that thing. The only one I mean and because this is a positive note, no, I'm not afraid to say it. It's the Inkulenu brand, no. And not Inkulenu is something that's the other one. I'm talking the Neat brand. I think the Neat brand has more of nutrition in there. A lot of these other ones, so it's more of starch and fillers, right? Now, that may be what is causing the problems with all the things that we're talking about. Again, and what True Green Foods, my money are different from these other ones.
Yo, me that say, see, True Green Food. This is how it came about. I just want to segue a bit, and I'll get into it. Now, because of our metabolic side, which is the functional medicine clinic, of course, diabetics. So remember, it's a Ghana for 10 now, 9 hypertension, 9 diabetes. Okay, so these are all metabolic issues. So, and you will need to be blood pressure, no, and you be a friend say essential hypertension. It means to say we don't know what is really causing the hypertension. Until honestly, it can be termed as carbophilic hypertension. In this for normally, once you take away the carbs, unless you reduce the carbs, once the blood pressure normalize it. And I say the weaker, so more you're religious, the weaker or more fasting. You see that the whole week their blood pressure is low. So it gives us a clue that the high carb meal is what is driving the hypertensive episodes. Will be a program. I'll catch them saying, so we did rice a pet, not the blood pressure cost. But, Rakusi, Bizarre say, nipa sign and odi a movie about checking the blood pressure. And you're likely because one drink. Okay, into true green foods, more mfasopa or more diabetics because they are checking right away. And I said 1 hour after. Into they see say for the first time, no, they eat and their blood sugar is low and their blood pressure is low. Now, so you such that your pick plant low in carbohydrates and a replacement. For example, you will be a friend lupin, a legume, okay? It's one of the ingredients we use in there. And the reason why is one is low in carbohydrates, and with the addition of psyllium and other things, we are able to make it like a dough. For example, yesterday I had one of them called Dusi. It's a combination of almond, coconut, and psyllium. It's actually my favorite. You can make it in the form of banku. You can make it in the form of TZ. And yesterday I enjoyed with hot sauce and fish. Okay, and it gives me the same feeling of say maybe when I was single, let me favorite a yipa and cried I'll go and buy it and put it there. Now I don't because of that. Because I don't know replacing the mommy.
It tastes like in Dokuno.
No, you have it said you would be to say Dokuno and I said Banku and I said Eto and I say Bibi. Yeah, you actually enjoy it, and I enjoy it. Now, interestingly, because I'm a clinician, this is what I did, and I do that all the time. Maybe the name sugar is 74, okay, milligram per deciliter. Me did 1 hour later now, me check it was 83, okay. Sugar not the home from Batamame, and that was the only meal I had yesterday. And that's how all true green food into your breakfast options from oatmeal, say, especially diabetics, especially sugar. Into diabetic, I them a bowl of oatmeal, don't give them bread. Let them eat it 1 hour later, check it, and your blood sugar will be high. Okay, so that's how honestly so we put different plants together, chia being one of them, to mimic oatmeal. Until was a hold and you what you replace cocoa, because your Gary, your Tom Brown, no starch new womb. And until I make us say, yeah, pay a pomudia, whether vegan or not, there are certain things that you don't have to discount. You want to pay attention to A1C. You want it to be as low as possible. The other big one, and most doctors and check it, you have to ask for is the fasting insulin. I call that the metabolic gatekeeper. So no, you're higher, or risk of cancer is high, or risk of prostate issues are high, because in the presence of insulin, I like to call it the fertilizer of the body. It makes things grow. Into science, when you can say anabolic hormone. Into be all prostate, once a month the prostate grow, will be all fibroid, once a month fibroid grow, or cancer. As a matter of fact, cancer cell has 10 times more sugar and insulin receptors than a normal cell. It's so at any point, whether we are vegan or not, we want to bring our glycemic near down. And some of the time, it can be deceptive when you use the word glycemic. For example, plantain glycemic index is about 39, which is considered low. However, carbohydrates in a woman dorsum. Fiber what plantain mono eswa. Into you be a diabetic no deep plantain pay. Immediately 1 hour after no checking on the sugar near 250, 300, and that can cause damage. And to buy a high, a lot of people you diagnose them, this is what they were doing because they know say oatmeal they eat good mom. So they have been doing oatmeal in the morning and be at dinner no body and say body fufu. And guess what? They have suffered the comorbidities of diabetes that I was talking about initially. Nenina starting problems. Nenina erection is annual. And I always say this: Halle Berry, the actress Halle Berry, at age 21, and a diagnosis of a type 1. So you can say type 1, it means to say pancreas and juma. By virtue of your diagnosis, you have to inject insulin every day. Insulin is into biasta so insulin per once or gain weight or in packet or no because it shoves things away for you to get bigger. Guess what? Halle Berry is still tiny and is still living good, has no problems. The reason is Halle Berry on the banku, on the anything I money sugar iodine, akosoro. Into woman of bibia, even oatmeal crowd on the and at the age of 58, she looks younger. And that's because of that. And on a mindset, you created true green food because just about all our diseases are related to metabolic related to insulin. Into when you being a prostate issue, one of the things There's other factors, but one of the things you need to be looking at is the prostate. Nipa ni bebre no more prostate enlargement, you know. You know, A1C ni good, but fasting insulin are high. And again, high, not by the conventional standard. Like I said, it has to be less than 5. Until so start to say, who sign your mana, then say, a friends of fasting insulin your 5, the Bible catcher will say, prostate in the air enlarge because on any idea basically pushing money until say who is how then you can be vegan, you can be anything, but and paying attention not just with the glycemic numbers because it can be deceptive. An example is the plantain that I used. You want to look at the carbohydrate content and the fiber content of idea. So online right now, if you check plantain, Rebecca was a medium size, carbohydrate 57. Fiber 4, but Ouir because it has a lot of fiber and it's diabetic friendly, very deceptive. But more near diabetic ending here, the sugar never cost. Diana make us say it's so greater. I didn't know would be no sugar no cost. And I go do emergency room America and I say Ghana crampana. They're not gonna say, oh, body let's spare you. They're gonna give you.
I heard them say environment assembly mumami no because. My grandmother, as a good example, Mikai passed from as far back as I can remember, near see because or high blood pressure or something to that effect. On deep banchi fufu. She didn't eat any banchi at all, any of those things. Ye wo fufu, ye wo no kwani the man first, so just body and sana. More or less, ye wo body na near chemu two. No, need the one, not the other half, near their fra banchi for that type of thing. And she grew to be 90. Now from that time now, when the sada body and kwano disa body and pese body fufu, on the mankani on pay by the obedika krabat or any other not the body for the most part. Just recently, it is as a body so full of, the same thing I accuse banchi and all of these things for. Can you confirm that for me? Any brief?
Yes. The attendant said it has always been like that. My grandmother died of diabetes as well. Same thing. See, a lot of change from that time to now. Now, we, so many chemicals. As a matter of fact, apples from years ago is different from apples right now. A lot more sugar now than before. Now, is sedentary. Even though no sedentary, I came to America maybe 10, 15 years later and son Obewu, and she died in her 80s or so, 89 or 86, something like that. In Sanya, but you see, we were not checking. And genetic can also play a big role. So those things helped along the final days, But maybe if not on when I was in Ghana, she was not, but she lived to be about 86 or 89. My grandfather, on the other hand, the last meal at 3 p.m. or the body or the fufu, usually not fufu by 3 p.m. Guess what? He was 116 years old, but because he looked so solid, in terms of obituary forms, so 96. So that's where those things comes in. But meanwhile, your machine you check it. So you're diabetic, and that's all check it. Who did you now check it? That's how sugar got 250 and not 300. That's how you continue to do it. Then that becomes your own personal thing. Now, you can't say a man can anyway. No, so because I'm a doctor, be Ghana say only brobe. Now we Ukraine
or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So and the sugar not call 440. She called to tell me. Indeed, these are some of the things. And we have to start knowing these things. More lady go as on Jersey or opportunity for me to give her platform to talk. Or say only the body and wires and what emergency more than 10 times because all the time. So no, you're catching and say and it was spiking the blood sugar. So I'm sure in the past it was there just because of differences. And sometimes these people don't know this animal. They were very active. My grandfather, if you know, retired, but he was always going out and about. Or what to say the old man, but he was retired. Here, it doesn't happen like that. And most of us have car. 30-something years ago, when I was in Ghana, I didn't have a car. Here, I have cars. So, of course, you have, and because of me having that genetic predisposition from my maternal side, I'm very conscious with that. And regardless of what your diet is, I'll always push for low carbohydrate versions of it, even if you're a vegan.
Great. Thank you very much. With you around there, Kwame, in summary, final comments. Now, whilst we are giving final comments, me per se, as part of all of it. Say, being vegan long term, no, I'm saying your outline is say it could have its challenges. Let's call it challenges. How best do we fill those spots, those those holes, so that one can live a quality vegan life without compromising to or reverting to eating meat, but still staying on point with your health. Around the app, you can consider that as part of our summary. Emma, Kwame first.
Okay. Ras, thank you. I've learned a lot. Doc, me da se papa. Pacho timenka.
Yetunka pa.
Akwe is pacho timenka.
Yetunka Kwame. To asuma me pacho.
And I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot. I mean, say journey to investigate my food and try to observe how I feel after I've eaten. Even I'm doing it by myself, reading literature, credible literature, and that. What I'm reading is not as nuanced as Dr. Ocean Crawford or observable. And I would want to say thank you very much for everybody for all that we have shared. And Kwesi, thank you for creating the platform. What I have come to accept is that human beings have eaten meat over a millennia. And through evolution, our bodies have come to accept that that is the regular way of eating. And I'm saying, say we and I'm free with the animal. And this is very say we use supplementation. So we drink say we no unya inflammations we no mu ye kuro we knees ye or yane we feel say we bones unya tingling effect. I don't think say we ferry say we call doctor because vegan no and your religion a way of life for me. I met you soon out of passion, out of compassion for animals. And I love also a manifesting in three things. It is first an intention, and then sort of a promise or a commitment, and then sacrifice. And if all sacrifice an MD and nama nutrients, nutrient dense. Now after where did you know say one kasa create a diane and sana when your nutrients are kabenya the free one and tree more. Men ferry say who feel it tingling effect be our professional. I'm an church or a drama one because love is sacrifice. Kakra me can.
Kwame, that's nicely put. Doc, upon what day?
Yo, Mr. Mida Obiase, with the 7 Fireside or Chairman Kwame, Dr. Ennin, and Kwesi Baku, say, would they a Akonya brain? I'm saying, yeah, Mr. Mekani say, and probably no, yeah, say, you're vegan, you didn't say, vegan somehow, I'm for promoting it as healthy. Into the investigations be, I say, sorry, I name me and a pub Benkum, we are watching,
Also, no doc no menu, Bakumi. What do you want for the dog? Time I walk Ghana, no, I'm a standard doc no meal. 2 balls of cake.
Yep. Something I make
free Ghana. It's very hard for me to go beyond 1 ball of cake. What's causing that?
Half crying. The American say, I say, you see, idea, you should additionally a vegan lifestyle. And if I say, maybe a bit to me, and flaxseed, moo, and go say, and if I'm not crying, will be a while. I had say, I'm gonna be a, be bridge, and a corner, and I said, to me who say, and I feel so even if you cry, fright on the idea, I'm for you the idea, I'm a bleachy, I'm going to there fright on the idea. Just because why vegan, they said to me, and social stress and now who said, Nema as a Udini Nema as a UJD.
That's right.
And how am the basic.
That's right, Doc Midasipi. And then just to add a little bit to that, even the things that we consider healthy, from what Doc Ennin was saying earlier, we have to investigate them before we still buy them, right? Because if you're trouble, plant-based, vegan-friendly, whatnot. For instance, there's this famous brand of noodles. A world marketing sources. I will be was China, American, right? Fully branded vegan. But me sure then me no na me di pepper. I'm saying I did the media come you, but what is it really? Even though it's vegan, right?
Right.
There's no animal product in it whatsoever. But the nutrition, I mean, if it's we have to look at all of that. 7, we're rounding up, and we're rounding up, looking at what the best practices would be for us to maintain a healthy vegan lifestyle without compromising our food choice as vegans. No, but however, also not compromising our health. No. So please run that up for me.
I feel say everybody said the thing already. The things that are here, being like I would love to say, but the thing I'd be say, maybe we for free the conversation from this vegan word too. Because it came along the way, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just an attempt to say something. So make we start to think about what we really do, like how before I kind of say, if we be more intentional, what are you putting in your body? What do you mean by your eating healthy? Or what do you mean by your living healthy?
Mm-hmm.
For this conversation, you're very, very crucial. The medical doc, kind of, BBS, you pay attention to. Of course, he's coming at it from a different perspective. And we have to really actually sit together and even be critical of some of the things he's talking about too, and let's explore them together and see where we can get out of that. And I mean, Felicia, one thing that's important to say, knowledge, your way, you see right now, no, it's not necessarily public knowledge. And you'll be a month for dealing with on the consensus. Someone's in trouble, and then they'll hear about you, about medical doctor. Not, I keep calling you medical doctor, but if I was saying one more time,
Ennin.
Dr. Ennin.
Dr. Ennin, yeah, but it should be common knowledge, something we grow up knowing, right? And people in your role, Okyeame kind of crucial. Not Dr. Oponwade kind of crucial. Job love, they're all kind of crucial. I feel so. This knowledge should become like the currency where we live with, and the nutrients have to be available. I don't think money should be an issue for looking at tomorrow, really, because this economy we deal with, it's failing everyone. So yeah, and that's the conversation. The nutrients should be available. The food should be available. This fight against GMO and are very integral to all of this. If we're talking about holistic approach to living, we're trying to find a way to make the world how we want it to be. And to be felicit these things, we have to add it to the general way we're living, like we're pushing for another kind of world, and not really necessarily going for how do we save ourselves in the middle of all of this, because if I'm healthy and my people are not okay, what is it? How can I be okay? Yes, but yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it for reasoning. So.
Every time, 7 by your side. Okay, Doc Ennin. Doc Wade, what Bibika?
Maybe say true green foods no. I
find your tone. Doc, me pacho. Na me asuka me baby sa inti. Fa no ka sha se ma me ansa no baba around there na mine.
True green foods, it's available.
Green foods available, yes.
Available in our office here in Virginia. Now, what we have done is, because of the educational part of Sanyamano, it does not do well in the African shops. African shops, no, or more, they have some type of issue, have tried it and experienced the benefit of it. Into easier for them to sell. Into can be an agent. Into 90%, I think, of our sales now is directly from our office here. We package it. You can buy it online. And it depends on the state, like New York, we have reps there. New Jersey, we do. Maryland, we do. Virginia here, we do in certain stores. But Massachusetts and Connecticut, we ship it to them. And what I do, I see people globally. I have patients near patient towards areas and rather than send a true green food. It has not been an issue because we are constantly shipping out supplement and stuff to them. So if you don't have it in your state, you can definitely go to www.truegreenfoods vegan.com and you'll be able to order it, or just calling the number that you have, the same number, and somebody will gladly assist you. Or you call the main line, which is the pharmacy and the functional medicine clinic, and you'll also be gladly able to take your call and help you.
The number will play in the commercial that we will play after the show. So if you want the number, stick and stay. We'll play the commercial after the show. Just grab the number from there. Okay. You, Doc, Wiro, more questions, Emma, Doc, Anna.
Oh, to see, I didn't say no.
Yo, Doc, me question me about true green foods, and he said, Mati said, special way be ye prepare no, like fufu no ni ade no, ye can the regular way na ye can't store Ghana's African market there no. No credit. Now how is it? Nina, what try try how I will be say no need.
Yes, your videos on it online on YouTube. You can check there and you type in true green foods and now type of fufu to pop up. Now you can from experimenting with it over the years. Normally 3 minutes at most you are done. Even the oatmeal soakings, you have your sweetener, your milk, whatever ready. You are ready to go. You can do it warm, you can do it cold. From the breakfast to the swallows, but again,
and I'm a person to be me family or Ghana, and I say be cry. Yeah, say some of our people are listening to us from Europe, for instance. One of our people on Facebook.
Right now we have it in the UK. Most people in Europe are getting it from the rep in UK into we are still, keep in mind that is just not something new for us, because we actually a full-blown practice until we are still on the verge of getting people different. Even the shipment has been a challenge from one country to the other. And these are all things that we are working on.
You are still navigating.
Exactly.
Okay. So and you did mention also say insurance doesn't cover your services, even the supplements.
So in the US here, no, if you are when you have issue, what could be your test, then you want to see a functional medicine practitioner like myself. Now, so insurance will not cover. Everything is out of pocket, and most of the time, what people will do is your type of credit cards you subscribe to, and medical credit cards. Some people will just use their regular credit cards, and
like a HSA card type thing.
Yeah, some of them. So it depend on the plan, but it will be a friend say care credit. Into those are things people will use. As a matter of fact, because of the nature of it, we see most of the cases that we see are complex, be a kidney failure, because Menoka say you need prescription to do kidneys. You need but we are able to, by the grace of God, help reverse certain conditions. Into complex cancer cases, we deal with those, and those are the things that we do. Into one of the yes, exactly. That's why it has been with that.
But it's a shame, though. I wish the insurance would cover things like that, so that
I know that's why we all hope that
get better earlier rather than get all the way there before they have to.
Exactly, and that's why we go about giving the education.
Anyways, all right, Doc. Yeah, that's CP saying in Wabeka saying that 1 my year. I dream will be one normal PE. But this is not the end, though. To say you started with a vegan, vegetarian, Ital, whatever you want to call it, food choice. And some P will honor a fire pomudin who I be more insight into. Into your brand your best sample now. But before we go, the pachopi for 2 or 3 minutes be na far wrap up my name. The final word.
Looking at the holistic part and making sure that you take certain things out. Into it's a vegan, I think said the focus should be a wholesome approach. Into vegan and padia, then we want to also make sure that we are getting the right oils. We are staying away from the seed oils. We are taking away the processed meat. We are taking away the processed foods. Onono is one of the things in general. So we're vegan, so you're vegan. On the other side, in wrapping up, so who say we have challenges with vegan diet, me being a practitioner, I'm conscious about your B12. Now, B12 now we're checking. Are you checking the right one? Not the serum B12, but the holo TC, calcium levels. Are we doing that? Do you have enough? And are you at risk of osteoporosis? These are things you have to look at. Iron deficiency, for how you're afraid to be ferritin, one of the storage form of iron. Sometimes the intake may be the same, but idea me who are vegans say they be an almost ferritin you're low. So what don't just test your iron levels, you want to check your ferritin. There's a lot of complex things that you can look at. The DHA and EPA. You have to look at. So in terms of testing, you have to make sure that we are testing right, especially Okyeame or spokesperson for Lancet. We want to make sure that they are getting the right labs, because in labs in the true picture of what is going on in your body into the mechanism.
Yo, CP, my co-host Seven Fireside and Dr. Kojo Oponwadie, and my guest Dr. Ennin, Dr. Kwame Ennin, and Okyeame Kwame, CP. You have brought my knowledge from here to out there, and it's only the beginning for me personally. I think I make quite nice in my shed that I do it. Na my share number being na minya questions do my message about you. Before said this particular team, I'll still reconvene you, even if it's just to discuss the color of the sky. We should do that, right? Because I think everything that we touch, we can explore very well. And this discussion has proved that. Thank you very much. Also out there for doing the listening, www.ghnewsnow.com, on modernghana.com, on mytuneradio.com, and all the other platforms. Also for those who caught us on social media, thank you very much. This is where we drop the discussion until further notice. Echina will be here with the bi-weekly reasoning, the bi-weekly lectures. Dr. Sadia Nuhu will be giving a talk on mental health, I think it is, and we will be right here to carry it live on Radio Culture. Until such times, thank you very much. My name is Kwesi Isan Bakon. Thank you for doing the listening. I'm out.
His autobiography chasing impossible answer. Skill technique inadequate Tennessee. A machine learning how to human efficiency. They sell news in a boxy wall. Hashtag transactional acquisition. Worship God cause of the money economy must get deleted.